The 1965 United States quarter dollar is an important coin in American numismatic history because it represents a major turning point in how U.S. coins were made and valued. This coin belongs to the Washington Quarter series, featuring the portrait of George Washington on the front with the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," while the reverse shows a heraldic eagle with spread wings and the inscription, United States of America and quarter dollar. What makes the 1965 quarter especially significant is that it was the very first year the U.S. Mint stopped using silver in regular circulating quarters. Before 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver, but due to rising silver prices and hoarding by the public, the government decided to change the metal composition. As a result, the 1965 quarter was produced using a copper-nickel clad structure, with pure copper in the center and a copper-nickel alloy on the outer layers. This change allowed the government to continue producing coins without losing money on silver content. Another unique feature of the 1965 quarter is that it has no mint mark. From 1965 to 1967, the U.S. Mint intentionally removed mint marks from coins to discourage people from collecting and hoarding them, which had caused coin shortages in circulation. Millions of 1965 quarters were produced, making it one of the most common dates in modern U.S. coinage. Because of this high mintage, most 1965 quarters found today are only worth their face value of 25 cents, especially if they show signs of wear such as scratches, faded details, or a dull surface from years of circulation. However, the market value of a 1965 quarter can increase depending on its condition. Coins that remain in uncirculated condition, meaning they were never used in everyday transactions and still retain their original mint luster, can be worth more than face value. Lightly circulated examples may sell for around $1, while cleaner uncirculated coins can range from a few dollars up to $20 or $30, depending on how well they are preserved. High-grade examples that have been professionally graded by coin grading services can sometimes reach higher prices, especially if they show strong strike quality and attractive surfaces. There are also rare and valuable exceptions among 1965 quarters. A very small number were accidentally struck on leftover 1964 silver planchets, meaning they contain 90% silver even though they were not supposed to. These error coins are extremely rare and highly sought after by collectors. A genuine 1965 silver quarter can be identified by its heavier weight and the absence of a copper-colored edge. When authenticated, such rare error coins have sold for thousands of dollars at auctions, sometimes reaching 5 figures. Additionally, special mint set versions of the 1965 quarter were produced with better quality finishes for collectors, and these coins can also carry higher values, especially in top condition. In summary, the 1965 U.S. quarter dollar is a historically important coin that marks the end of silver in everyday American quarters. While most examples are common and only worth their face value, coins in excellent condition or those with rare errors can be worth significantly more in today's market. Its real importance lies not just in its price, but in the story it tells about economic change, metal shortages, and a major transition in U.S. coin production. Now imagine holding a simple 1965 quarter dollar in your hand and realizing that this small, ordinary-looking coin is actually a silent witness to one of the most dramatic financial shifts in American history. This coin was born at a time when the United States was facing rising metal prices, public panic, and a hidden economic battle that most people never noticed. In the early 1960s, silver prices were climbing so fast that the silver inside coins was becoming worth more than the coin's face value. People across America began pulling silver coins out of circulation, storing them in drawers, jars, and safes. Banks were running short of change, vending machines stopped working properly, and the government was under pressure. The 1965 quarter was the government's answer to this crisis, a quiet but powerful decision that changed U.S. money forever. When this quarter was released, many Americans didn't trust it. They were used to the heavy feel and bright ring of silver coins, and suddenly this new quarter felt different in the hand and sounded duller when dropped on a table. Some people believed these new coins were cheap or temporary, while others thought they would soon disappear. What no one realized at the time was that this exact moment marked the permanent end of silver in everyday American pocket change. The 1965 quarter became the first symbol of modern fiat coinage in the United States, a coin whose value no longer came from precious metal but from trust in the government itself. Most 1965 quarters entered circulation immediately and were used heavily in daily life. They paid for coffee, bus rides, parking meters, and groceries. They passed through millions of hands, unnoticed and unappreciated. Because of this, the majority of surviving examples today are worn, scratched, and dull, worth only their face value. But this is where the story becomes shocking. Hidden among these common coins are rare survivors that escaped circulation entirely, coins that sat untouched in rolls, bank vaults, or forgotten collections. These uncirculated examples still carry their original mint luster, a bright, almost glowing surface that reflects light in a way worn coins never can. Collectors are willing to pay real money for these time capsules, not because they are old, but because they represent a frozen moment in history. Even more shocking is the existence of rare error coins from 1965. During the chaotic transition from silver to clad coinage, a small number of quarters were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets meant for 1964 coins. These mistakes were never intended to exist, yet they slipped through the system and entered the world quietly. Today, these silver 1965 quarters are considered legendary among collectors. A genuine example can be worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars, turning an ordinary-looking quarter into a life-changing discovery. The difference between a common coin and a treasure can be as small as the color of the edge or a fraction of a gram in weight. What makes the 1965 quarter truly fascinating is that millions of people have owned one without ever thinking twice about it. It teaches a powerful lesson. Value is not always obvious. Sometimes history hides in plain sight, disguised as everyday change. A coin you ignore today could be a collector's dream tomorrow, depending on condition, rarity, and timing. This is why collectors say to always look twice at your coins, because once in a while, an ordinary object reveals an extraordinary story. So the next time you see a 1965 quarter, don't dismiss it as just another 25 cents. Think of it as a survivor of a financial turning point, a symbol of the end of silver money, and a reminder that even the most common objects can carry shocking stories and hidden potential. In the world of coins, knowledge is power, and sometimes that power is worth far more than the coin itself. As this story continues, the 1965 quarter dollar begins to feel less like spare change and more like a quiet witness to human behavior, fear, hope, and opportunity. When silver disappeared from circulating coins, an entire generation slowly learned that money was no longer something with intrinsic metal value, but something powered by confidence and belief. The 1965 quarter traveled through this psychological shift, sitting in pockets while the world around it changed. Inflation rose, prices climbed, and what once bought a full meal slowly became enough only for a small snack. Yet the coin remained the same size, the same face, the same design, silently absorbing decades of economic change without ever speaking a word. That is what makes it so powerful today. Not rarity alone, but symbolism. It represents the moment America stepped fully into modern money. Collectors who truly understand coins do not just look at metal and numbers. They look at survival. How did this coin live? Where did it go? Did it spend its life grinding against other coins in cash registers? Or did it rest untouched in a bank roll, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and patience? These questions matter because condition is memory. Every scratch is a journey, every smooth edge a story of time. An uncirculated 1965 quarter is shocking not because it is old, but because it escaped history's rough hands. It looks today almost exactly as it did the moment it left the mint, like time paused just for it. And then there is the thrill, the hunt, the addiction that grips collectors worldwide. The idea that somewhere, right now, a rare error coin could still be hiding. Not in a museum, not in a vault, but in a drawer, a wallet, or a forgotten jar of coins. This possibility is what keeps people checking edges, weighing coins, listening to their sound when dropped. The thought that a simple quarter could secretly be silver, could secretly be worth thousands, sends a rush through the veins of anyone who understands coins. It turns everyday life into a treasure hunt, where knowledge separates the lucky from the blind. What truly shocks most people is how often value is overlooked. Millions of 1965 quarters have been spent without a second glance, while only a tiny fraction have been saved, studied, and respected. The coin market rewards patience, education, and attention to detail, not speed. A person who understands the story behind the 1965 quarter sees more than 25 cents. They see a historical breakpoint, a lesson in economics, and a reminder that opportunity often hides behind familiarity. This is why experienced collectors say the most dangerous words in numismatics are, "It's just a common coin." In the end, the 1965 quarter dollar teaches something far greater than price. It teaches awareness. It teaches that history does not always arrive with noise and celebration. Sometimes it arrives quietly, disguised as something ordinary. And for those who learn to look deeper, who take the time to understand what they hold, even the simplest coin can become a source of excitement, wonder, and shock. That is the real value of the 1965 quarter. Not just what it sells for, but what it reveals to those willing to truly see it. And still, the journey of the 1965 quarter dollar does not end there. As decades passed, this coin continued to circulate through generations, witnessing cultural revolutions, technological progress, and shifting economic realities. It moved silently through the hands of factory workers, students, shopkeepers, soldiers, and families, each unaware that this small metal disc represented a permanent change in how a nation understood money. While people chased paper bills, stocks, and later digital wealth, the 1965 quarter remained grounded, physical, and real, reminding us that even in a fast-moving world, tangible history survives in the smallest forms. For collectors, the emotional pull of this coin is just as strong as its financial appeal. There is a deep satisfaction in finding a clean, sharp example of a 1965 quarter, one that still shows crisp lettering, strong details in Washington's hair, and a smooth, even surface. Such a discovery feels like rescuing a piece of the past from being forgotten. It creates a connection between the present and a moment when the world stood on the edge of change, unsure of what would come next. This emotional value is something no price guide can measure, yet it is what drives many collectors to search endlessly through rolls and collections. The market for coins like the 1965 quarter is also a reflection of human psychology. When something is common, it is ignored. When it becomes scarce, it becomes desirable. Today, billions of clad quarters exist, but truly high-grade survivors from 1965 are far fewer than people realize. Each year, more are lost to damage, corrosion, or careless handling, slowly shrinking the pool of collectible examples. This gradual disappearance adds quiet pressure to the market, slowly pushing values upward for the best pieces. It is not explosive growth, but steady, patient appreciation, exactly the kind that rewards long-term vision. There is also a powerful lesson hidden in the mistakes of history. The rare silver errors from 1965 prove that even the most controlled systems can fail, and when they do, extraordinary outcomes are born. These errors remind us that perfection is an illusion and that value often comes from deviation, not conformity. A coin that should not exist becomes priceless precisely because it broke the rules. This idea resonates far beyond coins. It mirrors life itself, where unexpected paths sometimes lead to the greatest rewards. Ultimately, the 1965 quarter dollar stands as a bridge between two worlds, the era of precious metal money and the age of modern currency. It is a coin that asks you to slow down, to observe, and to question what you think you know. In its quiet way, it challenges the idea that value is always obvious and invites you to look deeper, to feel the weight of history in your palm. For those who do, the 1965 quarter is no longer just change. It becomes a story, a lesson, and a shockingly powerful reminder that even the smallest things can carry immense meaning.